for the undisputed UFC Lightweight Championship of the World.
Hello fight fans and welcome back to a new video. In this video I will speak about the high anticipated fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. This lightweight title fight will be an absolutely war zone and we just have to hope that no one pulls out this time. Before I start with my breakdown, let's take a closer look at the tail of the tape. El Cucuy is 36 years of age and is 5 feet 11 inches tall and has a reach of 76.5 inches. The champion is 31 years of age and is 5 feet 10 inches tall and has a reach of 70 inches. El Cucuy will have a reach advantage of 6.5 inches, which would normally be an advantage for a fighter that uses his reach. But Tony likes to press all of his opponents to the degree that he ends up in the pocket where his reach advantage does not matter. And I don't really think that we will see a Tony that fights in the outside using his reach, so I'm confident to say that the reach advantage will not be a factor in this particular fight. This fight will for sure be the biggest test for both fighters, but I feel that Tony has a slight edge in the preparation for this bout, because it is very hard for Khabib's camp to try to mimic the unpredictable style of Tony in training or even predicting what Tony will do come fight night. We all know what Khabib will do in the fight, so it's a little bit easier for Tony's camp to prepare for Khabib than the other way around. Even though everyone knows what Khabib is going to do, no one has yet succeeded to stop Khabib's heavy wrestling and tremendous pressure in the ground and against the cage. If looking back to Khabib's fights, we can all see that everyone has one thing in mind, and that is defense. Every fighter that faced Khabib approached the fight with a very defensive attitude, which makes their offense a bit limited. In my opinion, you cannot stop Khabib from taking him down if you don't possess the heavy wrestling background that Khabib does, so I think that every fighter will have to accept the fact that they will be taken down sometime in the fight, but should instead focus in their camps on working to try to get up or threaten Khabib with an offensive guard, and there is no one better at working from the guard than Tony Ferguson. Tony will be constantly working from the guard using elbows and threatening with a lot of different setups to all kinds of submissions, and this is where Tony is different from everyone else that has faced Khabib. Tony will always have an offensive attitude in both the stand-up and in the ground, and this is what makes this fight so interesting. Let's take a closer look at Tony. He does not have the most technical striking, but he makes it work for him and he makes his striking very efficient with his varieties of techniques. He has a solid hard jab, which he uses to set up his right cross or right uppercut. He has a very good inside and outside low kick and is a fighter with some sharp elbows and knees. Tony is also a fighter with sloppy boxing defense and he tends to leave his chin up in the air, which makes him open to strikes, and we have seen him being rocked before, but even then he does not stop to work. So Khabib would have to make him unconscious, otherwise El Cucuy is not going anywhere. With that being said, I'm confident to say that Tony will have an advantage on the feet. One of Tony's strongest tools is his cardio, and he can without a doubt go 5 rounds of war and not even breathe heavy. And he will need his big gas tank in a fight that is most likely going to have a lot of scrambles and exchanges in both the feet and on the ground. Tony is a world-class grappler and holds a BJJ black belt under Eddie Bravo and is a very good submission artist with the best doors choke in today's MMA. Tony will always look for the doors and there will be openings for him to try to catch Khabib in the choke if Tony can manage to sprawl as Khabib are shooting for a takedown, or try to lock it in as they are standing like he did against Lando Vannata. Because of the offensive mindset of Tony, he sometimes tends to be very open for takedowns, and we have seen Tony getting taken down many times before, and I'm very sure that Khabib will get the takedown, but that Tony might scramble up immediately, or if Khabib managed to keep Tony down, be sure to see a lot of elbows and submission attempts from El Cucuy. Now, let's take a closer look at the champion. The Eagle is the perfect representation of the Dagestani wrestling culture. Khabib will either shoot for a takedown using boxing setups or press the opponents to the cage and trips them down. Either way, he will manage to get the fight to the ground, where he will start to make his opponent's life miserable. Khabib has in my opinion the best top position game in the history of MMA. When Khabib gets the fight to the ground, he will be constantly working using heavy ground and pound and transitions where he even looks for submissions. No one has yet had any answer for the wrestling of Khabib, and he is far more superior on the ground than any of his opponents. If someone managed to stand up, Khabib will make them carry his weight, and then take them down again, which we have seen is very draining for all of Khabib's opponents. Khabib will take his time on the ground and he will make his opponent tired to the degree that they will quit, and then he will look for a finish. Besides the world-class wrestling of Khabib, he has some decent striking, and his years in AKA has shown some good results. Earlier in his career he was swinging wild and were constantly looking for the takedown, while now he can stand up and strike with his opponents in a more confident and technical way than he used to do. Just like Tony-Khabib tends also to keep his chin high up in the air, but in my opinion has a better boxing defense than Tony. This fight is a perfect matchup where we will see some world-class scrambles and grappling from both fighters. I think we will see a lot of striking too, which will not be the most technical but for sure will be entertaining, because both of them has a big heart and they might end up in a brawl from time to time. This fight is very hard to predict and I can see the fight going either way. I can see Tony managing to get a submission from the guard, or if Khabib is shooting for a takedown without any good setups, Tony might be able to get the door standing to finish it off in the ground. I can also see Khabib finishing Tony with some heavy ground and pound, but both of the fighters are very durable, and if I had to make a prediction, I would say that Khabib will win via decision. I think it's going to be a very close fight, but the ego will manage to come up on top. Thank you guys for listening and I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and share your ideas in the comment section who you think will win and how. Until next time.